I have been a tremendous fan of the podcast from day one. I was on the board when it was started. I had very little to do with any of the development of it. That was some other people that took the lead on it. But my God, this has been one of the best tools for reaching alcoholics that I can remember in the last 20 years. Everywhere I go, I talk about it, especially road trips. Hey, let's listen to the podcast.
I've heard it through the grapevine.
Welcome. It's the AA Grapevine Half Hour Variety Hour, featuring the collective voices of Alcoholics Anonymous. And no surprise here, folks, I am Olis, an alcoholic in beautiful Oakland, California.
What? I'm so surprised. If I had pearls, I'd clutch them. Hey, everybody, I'm Sam. I'm an alcoholic in Palm Springs, California.
Hey, Sam.
Hi, Alice. It's great to see you.
It's always good to see you, Sam.
You know something?
What?
I did something crazy yesterday. I went ice skating for the first time in like 40 years.
What?
And I wound up escaping without having a wet butt. I didn't fall down once.
I think the escape is without a broken bone.
Well, yeah, at this age, you're right.
I haven't been ice skating. It's probably been 50 years for me. Like, I haven't been ice skating in a really long time. It was the thing in New York. There is an ice skating rink in Central Park.
Uh-huh.
As a kid, we would go there all the time.
But yeah, it was so much fun. It was a group of 6 of us from the rooms, and we just decided to get together and go do this because, get this, they have ice skating out in the desert.
Yeah.
And it was a fun time. I am definitely going to do that again. Then we all went out to eat after that, and it was just a fun night of fellowship outside of the rooms.
Yeah. So, Sam,
Yes.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel that?
Feel what?
That something wonderful is about to happen.
The new grapevine is here.
One of the most rewarding adventures an AA member can have is learning about getting involved in service beyond the home group. Being a general service representative, which we lovingly call GSRs, or a DCM, which sounds super fancy, a district committee member, or serving on any of the district or area committees, it really can open up this whole new world for AA members. This month's special section features inspiring stories about the importance and the joys of doing general service.
Joys?
Joy. There are joys. There are many joys.
Absolutely. The issue opens with an article about the 2026 regional forums. If there's one near you, see if you can attend. Regional forums strengthen our fellowship's 3 legacies of recovery, unity, and service. It's an opportunity for AA groups, area representatives, and any interested AA members to share experience, strength, and hope with representatives of the General Service Board and the office and the Grapevine.
2026 regional forums are as follows. The Western Canada Regional Forum is June 12th through 14th, and it will be in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
The Eastern Regional Forum is in Canada, August 21st through the 23rd in Boucherville, Quebec.
The Southeast is going to be September 18th through 20th in Raleigh, North Carolina.
And the Pacific will be December 4th through the 6th in San Diego, California.
We're giving you opportunities to plan ahead and check them out.
Yes, get them on your calendar. Go to all of them. That's something you would do, Alice.
That's something I would do. Extra.
You know, Don was a roving reporter at the last Southeastern Forum. That's on season 8, episode 4.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think that was in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Go check it out. Let's see whether or not Don's skills have changed since then in terms of interviewing.
and feel free to write in with critiques.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the stories that you'll find in this month's episode. A woman in Indiana shares how the concepts opened her eyes about the importance of general service in a really cute story, Running the Circus. She says, AA wasn't some faceless institution shrunk with power, pun intended. It was a living, breathing fellowship kept alive by us, the people who couldn't keep a cactus alive, let alone a spiritual structure.
In the story, Why I Get Involved, a member in Tennessee used to think area service was a waste of time. Boy, did he change his mind. He says, as a matter of fact, every one of us sober in AA today can trace our sobriety back to a sacrifice someone made in general service.
In a powerful article, The Love of Service, several past and current trustees share about serving, the fellowship, and what it's meant to them.
And one of them is today's guest, Mike L. in Omaha, Nebraska. He's the 2020 West Central past trustee. His story is on page 21 of the April 2026 issue of the Grapevine.
I am really excited to actually have a trustee on. What I'm most interested in is how he made the decision to climb down to the bottom of the triangle.
But first, the news. The Grapevine is seeking stories about sober holidays. Sober holidays?
We have to ask in April to get the stories together.
It's true. December is a great time of year to reach out to alcoholics and help others. What are your ways of staying sane and grateful during the holidays and New Year's? How do you navigate holiday parties and family gatherings? Share your best sober holiday stories at aagrapevine.org/share. Stories are due by May 1st, 2026. Have you heard about our Grapevine book, Forming True Partnerships?
As the chapter on step 4 in the 12 Steps and 12 Tradition puts it, when we were drinking, many of us had a total inability to form true partnerships with another human being.
This collection of Grapevine stories shows the many ways members use the 12 steps, sponsorship, and the tools of the program to improve and repair their relationships.
It has colorful stories on families, friendship, marriage,
divorce, dating, romance,
coworkers, sponsorship, and get this, pets.
Forming True Partnerships covers a wide range of experiences from sober alcoholics, all focused on how we form true partnerships with others. Get it now at aagrapevine.org.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mike. I'm alcoholic. So my sobriety date is January 22nd of 1992. I got sober in Council Bluffs, Iowa, which is just across the river from Omaha. It's where people from Omaha used to go when they didn't want their neighbors to know what was going on. And my home group is still in Council Bluffs, Iowa. It's the Wild Bunch that meets on Friday night at 7:30. If you're ever in town, stop in.
You talking about going across the river to hide, so to speak, instantly took me to the joke that I remember early on in life about church people going to the liquor store in another city so that people from church wouldn't see them. And then they run into each other there.
Well, for us, it was out of necessity because the drinking age across the river was 19 when I was a teenager. It was 21 in Nebraska. So
apparently you started drinking around 19?
Oh, no. I started drinking when I was 14.
Oh.
And for me, that was a spiritual awakening.
Yeah, what happened?
I was this awkward kid who didn't fit in. I came from a horrible background, very, very dysfunctional family. We moved around a lot and I never fit in. And when I was 14, I got invited to a party and someone gave me a beer and I drank it and I had a couple more. And I remember halfway through that third beer, something changed. And it just started in my stomach and this warmth radiated. And suddenly I felt good. I felt connected to other people. I felt a part of the group. And I had a typical night. I threw up half a dozen times. I blacked out. I eventually passed out. And it was the greatest night of my life.
Oh, yeah. The next day, I was like, I want to do it again.
Yes.
So many of us relate to that.
Did drinking become a problem for you quickly?
Really, it didn't. The first 6 years of my drinking were amazing. I did some insanely stupid things. I was playing in bands. I was having a good time. I was very active with my peer group. I was an honor student as well. I got scholarships to college. Things were going good. I got to college and I started to get into some little scrapes where I was being held accountable for my actions. I couldn't drink and maintain my obligations to keep my scholarship. So one night in my junior year, I loaded up all my stuff and I left. And then I ran off and joined the military, which was not the smartest decision for an alcoholic who is out of control with their drinking. So they held me accountable as well. And that eventually led to my hitting my bottom following a court martial in Texas. I crawled back home, and eventually I made it to Alcoholics Anonymous.
How old were you?
When I came into the rooms, I was 25. And eventually what happened was I transferred to Texas to learn the technical part of my job. And that's where my alcoholic behavior started causing some consequences.
All right.
And they were very, very good at holding me accountable for my actions.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, they've made quite the investment in you. They've taught you languages, and now you can show up and you can do what you need to do.
And I would imagine that the level of responsibility that you're gaining at that point makes it very difficult to hide alcoholism.
It did, yeah. It was almost culturally acceptable, the drinking and the partying, when I was in Monterey. It was more of a college atmosphere there. And then when we transferred to the rest of my training, it was real military, and it was they were not up for my hijinks.
One of the things that you said that really struck me, Mike, is I thought it was my family. I thought it was my family. I was on a meeting last night, and this woman's screensaver just said, "It's not them." That's all I said.
Yes.
And it's such a difficult lesson for us to learn. Could you talk a little bit about the awakening that you had, that it wasn't the family, it wasn't where you were geographically, it wasn't the military, it wasn't them?
Oh, right. So in our family, we had a lot of issues, alcoholism, drug addiction. That never landed with me, just the alcoholism. But there were a lot of other social issues too. And I thought that if I just got far enough away from them, I'd be okay. What wound up happening is I got away from them and my behavior got worse. I don't know if that was just part of the natural progression of my alcoholism, but it had no bearing on them, right? They had no influence at that time on my behavior.
They weren't even there.
They weren't there. But I do want to throw out to think that if your family is this much of a disruption, perhaps in your life, that getting away would fix things. That's not an unreasonable thought.
Yes. And it's about as absurd as thinking if I just stop drinking, things will be okay.
You mean just stop drinking fixes everything? Oh, wait, no, it doesn't?
It did not for me.
Yeah.
To our new friends, we're so sorry. But I would argue it's not a stop drinking program. It's a live right program. You got to stop drinking. But we promise there's joy on the other end.
Just a little bit of work.
Stopping drinking is very important to the process.
It really and life does change a lot.
Yes. Yeah. And what my experience was, I quit drinking before I got to AA. I didn't come in wet.
So how much time were you able to put together?
This is crazy.
Come on, let's hear it.
2.5 years.
Sure. And let me ask you this. You sound like the guy in the book who stopped drinking. My boyfriend, the carpet slipper dude, for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel? Was it joy and happiness in 2.5 years?
Oh, no. I knew if I kept drinking, I was going to die. I'd seen it too often in my family. But I thought that if I just stopped, I'd be okay. And what happened was I'd experienced about a month of things being okay. The initial heat was off. I wasn't doing the crazy blackout things I was doing at the end of my drinking. Mm-hmm. But I had no way of dealing with life's challenges. And so I would just stuff all of that. What happened was I was living on page 52, where I was having trouble with personal relationships. I couldn't control my emotional nature. I thought I had an anger problem because things would happen and I'd fly off the handle and I'd assault somebody. What happened was I had a fear problem.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden these things were happening. I had overwhelming fear. And the only way I could compensate for that was to turn that fear into anger.
Yeah. Which is not an uncommon response.
I would have road rage incidents, chase people down. I chased a guy around the shop at work with a hammer one time. I assaulted a DJ at a wedding reception because he wanted me to do the chicken dance in front of people.
Not at the wedding reception, Mike. No.
I was the only person there not drinking, right? That's what happens when I quit on a non-spiritual basis. I have no way of dealing with those things.
Yeah. Myself. Mike's reference to page 52, we lovingly refer to those things as the bedevilments.
Yeah.
And some people say that the bedevilments are the opposite of the 9-step promises. And so I love that you talked about without alcohol and a solution, I'm living in the bedevilments. Abstinence is not a solution.
It is not.
So 2.5 years of being dry without a program of recovery. What led you to AA?
While my court martial in the military was pending, I came home for a visit and started a relationship.
Of course.
Right, because that would then fix
me.
It. We have been together now for 37 years. So it's
yay.
So my wife, at the time we weren't married yet, she sought some outside help, some counseling for some issues that she was having in the relationship, which ultimately led to her being introduced to Al-Anon.
Ooh.
And Al-Anon taught her how to deal with my BS, right? Mm-hmm. So I was no longer allowed to get away with what I was getting away with. She started holding me accountable, and I started feeling like, well, maybe my path is narrowing now. I can't do what I used to do. And even though I wasn't drinking, my behavior was as alcoholic as it ever was.
And you got backdoored into Alcoholics Anonymous by an Al-Anon in a relationship. I love that. I do.
Yeah. So I was 12-stepped by her counselor, who's also a recovering member of AA. And they got me into treatment. Treatment introduced me to AA. I walked into my first AA meeting. I looked like Charles Manson.
The hair and all.
The hair, the beard, the crazy look in the eyes, the whole gamut.
For our listeners, he is a clean-cut looking man now. So we're having a hard time seeing him in the Charles Manson getup. But okay.
So coming into the meeting that way, did people approach you?
Yes.
Yeah, we're not scared.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was amazing, right? So the guy at the door, his name is John Kay. I don't know where John moved down to Missouri about 20 years ago, but he invited me and welcomed me like I was going to be the trustee anytime, right? And got me a cup of coffee, sat me down, and didn't have to bother asking if I was new, right? They
right.
Knew. And then 3 guys came and approached me and talked to me, and they talked to me about alcoholism. They saved my life. They didn't tell me what I needed to do. They didn't tell me how my behavior was hurting people. They didn't tell me. They shared their experience with alcoholism, what their lives were like briefly, and what happened and what it's like now. And I could relate. What the experiences they were sharing with me really lined up with the experiences I was having. And they offered a solution.
One of the miracles, I think, is one alcoholic talking to another alcoholic. Now, let's don't sleep on the Al-Anon badgering us into it. Like, we got to love them for that. But it lets us know that we've got a real problem and we can't get away with our behavior. But it's not a solution. But when the guys approached you and they start saying, I got from up under, you could hear that, huh?
Yes. Now, that wasn't enough to get me to take any action.
Okay.
It was enough to get me to come back to AA. I was going to meetings for almost 3 years. I had a sponsor. I had his name and number in my wallet in case I ever needed it, right? And I had it because people would come up and ask me, do you have a sponsor?
Why, yes, indeed. I'm a card-carrying member.
Yeah, right.
There were some other people that were very instrumental in me sticking around. They got me involved. They got me active. They took me on 12-step calls with them.
Yeah.
Almost from the beginning. They were dragging me along with them.
What was the effect of that on you?
It showed me and it laid the foundation of what Alcoholics Anonymous is, of one alcoholic sharing experience, strength, and hope with another.
Yeah.
Right? Some of those 12-step calls were amazing, where the person we were sharing with, and what the instructions I got was, just let me do the talking, Mike. You're just there, right? I was the muscle in the situation. Cecil, the guy that drugged me along with him most of the places that he went to, would just tell me, you just keep your mouth shut. But if that guy gets up, knock him on his can.
And real quick, what is a 12-step call?
So from our experience, a 12-step call was someone reached out to Alcoholics Anonymous asking for help. That's where we took the call, jumped in Cecil's car and drove over, and we would go meet with them. Basically, the way they laid it out for me is the way it's laid out in the chapter Working with Others. We have specific instructions in there on how we carry that message to the still suffering alcoholic. Cecil was very good in letting me know that there are things that we do and there are things that we don't do. We're not bankers.
Mhm.
We're not hoteliers. We're not going to put them up in our houses unless that is something that we're willing to, right? I've got a family. I don't need to bring that mess into my house. I've actually been given instructions, no overnights, right?
Mm.
And I get like carte blanche to work with drunks whenever, wherever necessary. And that's come at some inopportune times, like my 20th anniversary.
Mhm.
That day, we got a call and went and did a 12-step call.
You did these 12-step calls with these old timers. Was one of them your sponsor?
I wouldn't call him my official sponsor, but I was using Cecil for the first 3 years. Yeah, I was bouncing stuff off of him. He was sharing stuff with me. Wasn't doing any step work or any work in the book. It was all face to face. We're going to go work with some drunks today.
Unity and service, right? Those two sides of the triangle, which most of us, I would argue, come in and do unity and service first.
And when anyone asks, I always blame Cecil for me being involved with service. He was the GSR for the Saturday night meeting that we went to.
Yeah.
And one day what he said was, now I had never missed one of these meetings from the time I got sober, but I never remember a business meeting. Suddenly Cecil came up to me and said, Mike, you're our new alternate GSR. I don't remember having that discussion or that vote, right? But I became the alternate GSR. I didn't know what that meant. I don't know what the letters meant, but Cecil took me with him to a district meeting the next week, and they talked a lot of acronyms that I couldn't relate to. I didn't know what anything that was shared, how any of that pertained to Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah. Or you as an alcoholic.
Right. But the next month, on the way home from the district meeting, he said, I just took a job driving over the road again. You're the new GSR. I don't remember that vote either. Right? So at 6 months, I was the GSR for that group.
And having attended only one meeting as the alternate, so you really didn't have any experience of even witnessing the district meeting.
Correct.
Baptism by fire in AA, man. There are two ways to get into a service position you don't remember being elected to. One is that you complain about something. If you complain, you don't like the coffee, the chairs, you become the person. Oh, you're so smart. You do it. But the other way, unbeknownst to me, my relationship with someone that's in service is going to lead me to service.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get the spirit of serving, even though I don't have the technical skills. I love that you did very early 12-step calls.
Some of those got a little hairy. There was a time where a guy had a gun.
Okay.
And we were able to navigate that without any complications. But it was a pretty tense moment.
I'm sure. And one of the things that I've noticed that you keep saying is we. And that's because there's a very important part about 12-step calls. You never do it alone.
Correct. In any 12-step opportunity, as long as I'm sharing my experience, there's nothing that's wrong, right? That's the honesty of it. Is it's one alcoholic sharing their experience with another. It's not me telling them what they need to do, or I'm not an expert on alcoholism or recovery. I just have an interesting experience that I can pull from to share with others.
Well, also to comment with the military angle of it, it's also not a recruitment call. We're not trying to get you to join.
Right. I've used the line to telling people, look, I'm not selling you anything. This isn't a timeshare. I'm not on commission here. I'm just offering the experience of many years of doing things a little off kilter and then learning from those experiences.
What do you think is the most surprising part of your transformation? If people had met you in that first series of meetings, what's the most shocking thing about who you've become as a result of Alcoholics Anonymous?
When I got to AA, I had a tremendous fear of people. I would avoid social gatherings. I would just stay away from large groups. There was a lot of work, a lot of things at play there that transformed that. My experience was I still had a lot of that fear as I was going through the progression downward through the service structure. When I was a DCM and I was giving reports at the area meeting, I was afraid that people could hear my knees banging because I was shaking so much from the microphone, right? One of the experiences that I had was after serving as DCM, I was elected to be the area literature chair. And what that required me to do was load up all the books, take them to an event, set them up, and then talk to people. Yeah. And then, especially if it was, an overnight thing, I'd go back to my hotel room and I'd curl up in the fetal position, right? And then wake up in the morning and do it again. And and gradually over the course of that 2 years, that fear of people was removed. And I started to look forward to that. And it's just that opportunity then to talk one alcoholic to another in a safe environment of an event with something to actually talk about, which was the literature on the table in front of me, rather than I don't do small talk very well. I don't do,
Yes.
and it's so if they swing by the table and ask about a piece of literature, I would be able to,
Light up.
I would, right? And that also gave me the opportunity to read all that material.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because God forbid that they should come by and ask me a question I don't have the answer to, right?
Right, right.
Fear's alive from the pit of hell, and you can't let fear stop you from growing into the person that you are going to be.
Yeah.
You continue moving through despite the fear, the trust that I found that was well placed in the people that I came to know in Alcoholics Anonymous. One of the things that I have experienced in AA, probably stronger than any other organization, is the desire that everyone has for the success of everyone else in this fellowship.
Yes.
Mike, you have certainly got a lot of experience in recovery. How has general service, being in that place that helps and supports the direct service that people can do, how has that affected your life?
It's totally revolutionized my life. I came to AA as a hermit. I wouldn't go out in public. I travel all over the US and Canada now. I have friends all over the globe, literally, that I have strong relationships with, that I love dearly, that love me back. That all happened as a result of being a part of that structure. Just remembering that the way it's laid out is that we are all equal. We have the same vote. One alcoholic, one vote. We can't all go to the General Service Conference when we have basically what it is our group conscience of AA as a whole. So we delegate people to represent us there. To serve in that process over the years has just been a blessing that I really can't describe how it happened, other than my sponsor asked me when it was time for rotation if I knew what God's will was. And I said, no. And he said, well, okay, well then don't limit it. Make yourself available and let your higher power figure that out.
I just got chills. That's fantastic.
Right. And the way that's played out, that was when I was a district committee member and trying to determine if I want to continue to be active at the area level. And that led to becoming the area literature chair, and then the area chair, and then the delegate.
Yeah.
And then my wife asked me to maybe step away from that for a while and reconnect and get some projects done at home.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
It's a lot of work.
It is. And so in the time being, after I rotated as delegate, I took care of a couple of degrees and
some honeydew stuff.
Oh, a lot of honeydew stuff, right? And then became more employable and became just a better member of society. And then after about 12 years, she said, okay, if you want, go ahead and make yourself available again. And eventually I was selected to be the West Central Regional Trustee in 2020 at the first virtual conference during COVID. Right?
Wow. Would you talk about what your AA life was, completely separate from general service? What was that like? And then what did that do to change you to be a better servant later?
So throughout all of that, I was still active in all three legacies. I was still doing service work. As a past delegate in Area 24, Iowa, I have a vote at the area assembly. I would just hang out in the back of the room and just wait if anyone needed any help. And I just get to see people and just provide a little bit of background on why we do things the way we do things. So I was never separated from the service side of it, but I was focusing primarily at the group level and carrying the message locally in our community. And so that is the foundation of my recovery now, is one alcoholic working with another. And it carries over into everything. What I experienced as a trustee is when we're at the General Service Conference, if we're there debating, we're probably not allowing our collective higher power is described in tradition 2 into the room. However, if we're there sharing our experience, then there's more opportunity for that higher power to reveal themselves there. And when we're there just sharing our experience, it's more of a conversation rather than a debate. When I'm there in that capacity, I'm open to other experiences rather than standing firm on my position. I've done both, and I can tell you that the results are much better when it's an open conversation.
It's yet another lesson in working with others. Mike, I do have one last question.
Yes.
In sobriety, have you done the chicken dance?
Yes. Not very well.
Not very well. Okay.
The problem is when I share that story, I usually wind up sponsoring people that are like me. My guys will find opportunities to play that song. I just have to embrace it.
Don't take yourself too seriously in Alcoholics Anonymous, man.
Oh, Mike, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you for giving us some of your time today.
Always a pleasure. I'm Mike L. from Omaha, Nebraska. I subscribe to the Grapevine because when I got sober, the Grapevine was the way I found identification with alcoholism. I would go to meetings and I would grab a grapevine and I would go sit in a corner and I would put my face in the grapevine to keep people away from me. And then I'd read it and I found identification through the stories that I read.
I've not heard of anyone using the grapevine as a shield. I love it.
If you'd like to support this podcast, please visit aagrapevine.org and subscribe either in print or digitally.
You can download the app and subscribe today. It's only $2.99 a month.
$3 a month? Come on.
I'm at the very wit's end. Cuckoo.
A man with severe drink-related health problems consulted with his doctor. The doctor examined him and asked, "Have you ever thought about Alcoholics Anonymous?"
Well, I've thought about it, but I prefer to drink with people I know.
It's really not that funny. Thanks for joining us. The AA Grapevine Half-Hour Variety Hour is posted every Monday and is produced by AA Grapevine, Inc. We don't speak for AA as a whole. We share the experience, strength, and hope of members to help others recover from alcoholism. All things Grapevine are available at aagrapevine.org, including our app and how to get in touch with us. Find us on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to know more about AA, visit aa.org or search online for Alcoholics Anonymous and your city.